Hello, everybody, and welcome to F1 Down Under. My name's Hayley,
And I'm Matt.
and this is our race reaction to the Dutch Grand Prix. Well, what a race, first of all. It was very exciting for the Dutch Grand Prix, not the most difficult circuit to overtake it on.
No, it was good. I enjoyed watching it, I have to say.
Yes. And I think, first of all, before we get into anything, we'll talk about pre race and the penalties that were
Yeah, the
handed out for
qualifying
Paul.
and where everyone started.
So Lewis got a 3 grid pace penalty.
Yeah, I mean, it was, for me, he did block Perez, so it was going to happen. I mean, he couldn't go anywhere.
That one, I think, is in my mind controversial because yes, he did impede logistically, but when there's no room, how are you meant to get out of the way?
Well, yeah.
So it's that one's controversial in my mind. Uh, it is impeding, yes, but when there's nowhere to go, how are you meant to get out of the way? And he did slow down. You can see he's slowing down.
Yeah, but
But
my argument we see with that is that
I mean, yes,
he could have slowed down further up the track in different places, knowing that he was coming. So
but we don't know what the radios were doing, so we can't argue that. All
no,
we have
but
to see is what we saw on the television. But
I
that's
think I think when you look at anyone that's impeding is going to get a penalty. The fact that he couldn't go anywhere, yes, you'd like to think they'd take that into account, but it's not in the rules, so they don't. He blocked him.
and then of course poor Alex Albon got disqualified.
Yeah, from what that sounded like, it was literally not even a millimetre too wide on the like an extra layer of paint almost on the floor.
I feel like Paul Williams is having the worst luck this year.
Yeah,
I feel
but
like you're jinxing them.
well, that's it. As soon as I say that, but I mean, it is, but equally, they know the regulations and know how tight they are. So, I mean, it's very similar to
Georgia.
George in the tyres and the weight, right? You know what it is, so it's either too wide or it's not. And there's a point where it becomes too wide, even if it is only fractions of a millimetre.
But that made this lineup different and the race got very
Yeah,
interesting.
it did.
So
It
let's
did.
get into that.
I mean, it meant
So our race start, that was very exciting. Clean.
yeah. I mean, for once, I think Lando didn't try and cut anybody off because that's been his. But they just both him and Oscar
Didn't get a good start. The McLarens didn't get a good
they
start.
got off, and then it was that second part of the start they both struggled.
Whereas Max got a, a smooth start on both
Yeah,
phases.
yeah, that's right. He had a lot less wheel spin,
Yeah.
and that put him into the lead in
And
that
even
corner.
the Ferraris did that as well,
Yeah, I just
which surprised me because seeming how the second, no, not second, sorry, we're in the second half, first half of the season,
yeah.
they were looking a bit, they really stood out and think, oh, the Ferraris look good this weekend.
Yeah, the Ferraris definitely had a better weekend
Yeah.
and a better start for certain. I think Lewis had a reasonable start, but then he was on the soft tyres, which leads us
Yes.
into the
Yes. Strategy wise, there was some very mixed strategies. Everyone was pretty much on the mediums, apart from
yeah. There was the people at the back, and Magnussen was on
Hards.
hards.
But the one that stood out was Lewis, who was on in 12th, who was on the soft. He was the first one to go on the softs.
Yeah, he started on him, and yeah, he did. He did well. I mean, he made the most of those. He got caught up a little bit with Hulkenberg, I think.
On the Hasses, but they are quite. One is Hulkenberg, who is quite defensive,
Well, yeah, they're quick on a straight, so
and the Hasses are very defend. They can defend very well. The Hass cars, they're quite hard to overtake.
yeah, so that cost him a little bit of time. But I thought he did outside of that. He got past
The
a
cars
stack of cars that were in front of him.
quite quickly.
The Aston Martins and the Alpines, which were looking. Gasly was looking reasonably quick. So I think that helped. And then Lando, actually took Max once he got the new tyres on, didn't he? I think he actually overtook him on the track, which is good. So I think the strategy, it didn't play into it as much, and I think the tyres lasted
longer than expected.
Yeah,
So Lewis, for example, start there was predicting about 20, about
yeah. It was only about the soft. The soft was only sort of 10 to 15 laps, they reckon, but he made it all the way into the 20s, didn't he? Before he
yeah.
stopped. He went as far as some of the ones on mediums. I think Alex was the one that stopped
Alex
first.
stopped first on lap 12.
Uh,
But that could just be the high degradation of the Williams causing the tyres and
well, I
stuff.
just think they were
And
like, well, we'll go on the hards and see and try and get a jump whilst everyone's together. I mean, he then went and put the fastest lap in it lasted for quite a long time on those hard
parts.
tyres, which I think made everyone else go, maybe we'll swap to those.
But then he had to then he did make a second pit stop quite late on and put on another softs, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's obviously the Mercedes eventually did both make an extra stop, didn't they? I mean, they didn't have to. I think they could have gone to the end, but
Yeah.
they weren't catching anybody. And Lewis, until the very last lap, had the quickest
Lap.
fastest lap. Or was it George? One of them anyway. So,
But it was one of the more exciting Dutch Grand Prix.
everybody, I mean, it was close. Apart from once Lando got a bit of a gap,
Yeah.
which was, that was telling in itself.
Apart from Lando, which making that gap, there was some exciting overtakes downfield. I mean, 4 cars going down the straight.
Yeah, that's that last corner, doesn't it? They kind of whip out that last corner with the banking.
You had a Haas, a Williams, an Aston, and a
Alpine
going around the corner. You're like, where do I go?
Yeah, it got a bit tight in there. That was interesting again.
It was chaotic but good clean racing.
Yeah. So, and interestingly, with the amount of people that went off in practice and stuff, no one, no safety cars,
no virtual safety car,
no real incidents.
No one went off all the gravel traps, apart from maybe the first lap, I think.
I don't think there was even any retirement, was there?
Everyone finished. So that was amazing to see.
Yeah, and it makes it interesting. I think Ferrari, in terms of who did well, I think Ferrari did better. We both predicted Mercedes doing well, and Mercedes seemed to drop back. And we hadn't really mentioned Ferrari, and Ferrari, Leclerc got third. So for me, they were the sort of that's what surprised me at the weekend. Yeah, and I think that bodes well for them going into Monza. But what surprised? Was there anything that surprised you?
Well, what surprised me, I think what surprised everybody, to be honest, was how once Lando was away, he was like Mercedes about 5 years ago. Once they were away, 20 seconds. And Max, once he was away, he was away.
Yeah.
I don't know whether, they did have upgrades, but whether you kind of look into that too much, I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, there could be something with the
There
car.
could be with the
obviously,
car.
at the beginning of the season, the stuff I saw, Red Bull might have had something going on with their brakes, which now they don't.
I don't know. We're not getting into that.
So there could be a few things.
But Lando deserved that win. He did a fantastic drive.
Yeah.
I mean, flawless drive from Lando. 22 seconds. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think my driver for the weekend though was Leclerc. He kept Piastri behind him. That McLaren was clearly quick. So I think he did really well to keep that third place. I think it was 27 laps or something with Piastri behind him. So he was my pick. I know that Lando was the.
Well, my drive of the day is actually Lewis Hamilton. I've got two because I can't choose, and Alex Albon, because coming last and starting last and then going to 12th, I think is
Yeah,
really impressive. And then also going,
if only he'd kept that qualifying spot, he would have
and
got points.
then also in terms of Lewis going from 12th to 8th, and
Yeah, he worked his way up,
he
and,
worked his way up. And I think that's why they're my drivers of the day, not because they're pole, they started
yeah,
pole and 22 seconds in the lead. Like that. I'd
yeah,
rather pick my driver of the day based on that. But I
yeah.
think Leclerc's a really good shout.
Yeah,
He did
well,
an
I mean,
amazing
yeah,
job as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I think he's brought Ferrari back into that. Oh, okay, maybe they have got a bit of performance,
Yeah, and
in
even
grid.
Science as well, because even Russell wasn't gaining on
No,
Science.
no, that's it.
So it was really interesting to see at the second half of the season who's got their upgrades or who needs upgrades.
Yeah, and Monza will be interesting because it's a quick circuit, so we'll really see
Mm,
how that pays out in terms of just pure performance. So I'm looking forward to that.
yes. We'll see you. So we'll see you in the next video. Bye.